Who is the biggest NFL draft bust ever? I know what you're thinking. Hey, Eric, you got to go with Ryan Leaf. He was taken number 2 overall after Peyton Manning, only played 21 games. The Chargers paid like $8 million per victory. Another good pick would be Vince Young. Took the University of Texas to the promised land over USC, went to the NFL, completely lost focus, and spent all of his money at chain restaurants. You could even go with Jamarcus Russell, a guy with just incredible physical abilities, could throw the ball like 65 yards from his knees, and just had no work ethic in the NFL. He notoriously was given blank tapes by his coaches and came back the next day and said that he studied all the blitz packages on those tapes. But none of those guys we're talking about today. We're talking about Tony Mandarich, who was an offensive tackle, was drafted in 1989. But the only thing you need to know about him is he was seen as the greatest prospect ever. He was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. He was known as the Incredible Bulk. He was 6'6", 330 pounds, and 11% body fat. He repped 225 pounds 39 times, and he ran a 4.65 40. I don't know if you heard that there. He's 6'6", 330 pounds, and he ran a 4.65 40. Put that in the context of Deshaun Watson, quarterback of the Texans. He's 221 pounds, 6'2". He ran a 4.66 40. This guy was just a specimen of an athlete. An offensive lineman is not supposed to be that powerful and that fast. And he quite obviously was on a plethora of different steroids that we'll talk about in this video. And we'll also let you know what happened and why he was such a bust in Green Bay. So Tony Mandarich is actually from Canada, and when his brother got a scholarship to play football at Kent State, Tony moved down to the area and started playing some high school ball. A D-backs coach from Michigan State actually recruited Tony. His name was Nick Saban, and I'm not going to dig too much into his college career, but all you need to know is he was lineman of the year, and obviously was seen as the greatest prospect ever, and just had a killer career there. Some things to know about Tony is he was a great athlete, a great offensive lineman, but he was really loud. He had a loud personality, the way that he dressed, he really projected himself, and he almost looked like he wanted to be a rock star. A lot of people said it. He dressed like he wanted to be in Guns N' Roses and even acted like it as well. The NFL draft came up, and here's how it all went down. The Dallas Cowboys took Troy Aikman, quarterback number 1 overall, future Hall of Famer. The Packers ended up taking Tony Mandarich, number 2, offensive tackle. Detroit Lions took Barry Sanders, future Hall of Famer. Kansas City Chiefs took linebacker Derek Thomas, future Hall of Famer. Atlanta Falcons ended up taking Deion Sanders. So not only was Tony Mandarich a complete bust for the Packers, but he was surrounded by future Hall of Famers, and not just future Hall of Famers. We're talking about some guys that are cream of the crop. You're talking about Barry Sanders, Deion Sanders, Troy Aikman. These are the top-notch stars of the NFL of all time. So what did Tony do right when he got drafted by Green Bay? Of course, you got to immediately hold out for more cash, because Tony truly believed in all the hype. He thought he was going to be that incredible player, an all-time future Hall of Famer, like the 4 guys that were around him. He also didn't want to play for Green Bay. He didn't like the small market. He actually called Green Bay a village, and he just believed he should be in LA, he should be in New York. And when people were getting pissed off at him, he said, "I'm not like other players. I'm Tony Mandarich." And they have to understand that. If they don't like it, that's just the way I am. They're going to have to learn to like it. So Tony was an absolute gem, but he ended up signing for $4.5 million a week before the season was going to kick off in week 1, and he only ended up playing special teams for the Packers that year. And as the next couple years started to pan out, he lost his power, he lost his speed. He got really roughed up by Reggie White, and it's not an easy task to take on Reggie White. But our guy, who's supposed to be the best offensive lineman in the league, got manhandled by him. They tried to move him to guard, actually, and that didn't work out either, so the Packers ended up cutting ties with Tony Mandarich. So the biggest question is, how could a guy with these types of tangibles not hack it in the NFL, even being like a practice squad guy or just being a depth guy at the offensive line position? So the truth is Tony took a whole bunch of steroids in college. He took Winstrol, Finaject, testosterone, Dianabol, Equipoise, Anadrol, Anavar, and he cheated all of the tests in college. He actually used a dog toy, he said, that had like a long tube and it had a squeaker in it, and he filled it with urine, and he would cheat the 5 tests that he had in the NCAA. He also explained that these steroids immediately made him 15% stronger, so he would take the steroids, and he said 3 days later he would have a 15% increase in his strength. So stuff that usually takes years and years to build, he was doing it within the span of weeks. But he realized that the testing in the NFL was legit, and he actually just decided to stop taking the steroids, and immediately his power and his speed were just gone. It took him a long time to build all that stuff up, although it was powered by steroids, and he pretty quickly just lost all of it. So what he started to do is he started taking pills and he started injecting painkillers. What's even crazier is he took syringes and he put them in his jock straps when he was practicing for the Packers. and would slip away from practice and shoot himself up during practice. I can't imagine how difficult it is to make it through an NFL practice, never mind being on painkillers that make you slower when you're trying to go up and win a job. And when he was cut by the Packers, he went back to his hometown and for a few years just got addicted to alcohol, got addicted to drugs, and kind of fell down this state of depression and was out of the league. I think what he deserves the most credit for, though, is he did humble himself, he got sober, and he did return back into the league for the Colts. Although it was not a good team, he did start all 16 games and he played a couple years. And that kind of goes to show you that obviously he had some pretty raw and natural talent, even though it was powered by steroids, but he probably could have done it on his own. And he played okay for the Colts. It wasn't anything that stood out, but to be out of the NFL for a few years and come back at the age of 31 and compete at the highest level in the entire world in football is pretty impressive. Let me know below if there's any other draft busts that you think should have the #1 spot, and do you think that this year has any draft busts in the top 10? I think that's the big question. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like and that subscribe button. It really does mean the world to us. We appreciate you guys watching.